You bend down and feel that familiar stiffness in your knees, that slow resistance in your hips, or that subtle ache in your hands when you open a jar, and maybe you've chalked it up to aging, to wear and tear, to just part of getting older. But what if the real damage is coming not from time but from your plate? Because the pain you feel in your joints may not be inevitable, it may be optional, and that's the warning no one ever gave you. Hooked yet, you should be. Because 5 everyday foods you may eat weekly, even daily, could be silently fueling the inflammation, the grinding, the tightness you've come to accept as normal. The worst part, these aren't fast food or junk snacks. They're foods you may have been told were healthy or at least harmless. And the first one is something nearly every American household has stocked right now: refined carbohydrates, especially white bread crackers and baked goods. They convert quickly into sugar, triggering an inflammatory response that directly impacts your joints, especially if you already have osteoarthritis or joint degeneration. Ever wonder why your knees feel tighter after a sandwich, or why your fingers ache after breakfast toast? That's not coincidence. That's chemistry. And when you make that same food choice day after day, the inflammation compounds, turning morning stiffness into all-day discomfort. The danger isn't in the one-time indulgence. It's in the repetition and the habits that add up without you realizing. Your joints weren't designed to suffer quietly, but you've trained yourself to ignore the whispers until they scream. And the truth is, the foods hurting your joints the most are often the ones you've eaten for decades without thinking twice. And the second on the list is one you've likely reached for in the name of heart health or lean-eating vegetable oils. Yes, the so-called healthy oils like corn, soybean, and even canola found in margarine, salad dressings, and most processed foods. These oils are high in omega-6 fatty acids, and while your body needs some omega-6 too much, throws your system out of balance, promoting inflammation that targets the most vulnerable tissue in your body, your joints. Think about it. Your joints are where motion meets pressure, where your daily life demands smooth function. But if your bloodstream is constantly loaded with pro-inflammatory compounds, your cartilage pays the price. That crackling sound in your knees, that deep ache after a short walk, that's not just wear and tear, it's a war inside your tissues, and your fork might be part of the problem. And here's the hook. What if the salad you thought was healthy is actually part of what's keeping your joints inflamed simply because of the oil in the dressing? That's the kind of slow, quiet damage no one sees coming until the pain becomes part of who you are. And it doesn't stop there, because the third joint-destroying food is hiding in your favorite comfort-added sugars. Not just in desserts, but in sauces, yogurt, cereals, and even so-called low-fat health foods. Sugar spikes your blood glucose and floods your cells with inflammatory messengers. Over time, this not only stiffens joints, it erodes your ability to recover from daily stress. If you've noticed your body taking longer to bounce back from simple tasks, or your joints throbbing after small exertions, ask yourself, am I feeding this pain without knowing it? Because when you combine refined carbs, vegetable oils, and sugar, you've created the perfect recipe, not for satisfaction, but for slow, silent inflammation. And when your joints are inflamed long enough, they don't just hurt, they change. Cartilage thins, tissue breaks down, and the life you once moved through with ease becomes narrower, slower, harder. But it doesn't have to stay that way. Because joint pain doesn't just slow you down physically, it steals things you don't even realize until they're gone. Your independence, your spontaneity, your sense of confidence when climbing stairs, bending to pick up a bag, or even walking across the room without flinching. And the fourth food that silently contributes to this loss is something you've likely considered a harmless indulgence: processed meats. Bacon, sausage, deli slices, ham. These products are filled with preservatives like nitrates and high levels of sodium, both of which fuel chronic inflammation throughout your body. And here's the part. No one tells you when you eat these meats regularly, the inflammation settles not only in your gut, but in your joints, especially if you already have sensitivity from age-related wear. Have you ever noticed your knees or hips feel worse the morning after a big breakfast platter or a deli sandwich? That's not aging, it's response. Your body is reacting to what you're feeding it. And the most dangerous part is how normalized this pain has become. You expect it. You plan around it. You schedule your life based on how mobile you think you'll be that day. But here's a hook worth remembering. If your diet is silently shaping your pain, then your food choices could also become your freedom. You're not powerless. You're just uninformed until now. These aren't rare or exotic ingredients. These are everyday choices repeated for years, slowly wearing down the systems that keep you upright, mobile, and independent. And when your joints hurt, your world shrinks. You stop saying yes to trips. You avoid sitting on the floor with the grandkids. You dread cold mornings because you know what your fingers will feel like. And it doesn't happen all at once. It starts with discomfort, then routine soreness, then avoidance, and suddenly the person who used to walk every morning is now hesitant to leave the house without pain meds or braces. But what if it doesn't have to end that way? Because once you realize what's stealing your movement, your stability, your sense of freedom, it becomes impossible to go back to ignorance. The fifth and final food may be the most surprising of all dairy, especially the heavily processed kind found in creamers, flavored yogurts, and low-fat cheese products. While dairy affects everyone differently, for many older adults, it can trigger or worsen joint inflammation, particularly if there's even a mild sensitivity to lactose or casein. And here's the hook you weren't expecting. It's not about cutting everything. It's about noticing which version of the food your body reacts to. Have you ever had coffee with creamer and felt more stiffness later? Ever enjoyed a cheesy meal only to wake up with aching fingers? Your body remembers what your brain dismisses, and the longer you ignore those reactions, the deeper the inflammation sets in. But here's the hope: joints respond to change. They respond to care, they respond to choices, and every meal you eat is either adding pressure or offering relief. You don't need a miracle pill or a perfect diet. You need awareness, honesty, and consistency. Remove the 5 joint-aggravating foods: refined carbs, vegetable oils, added sugars, processed meats, and low-quality dairy, and see what shifts. Your mornings may become smoother, your steps lighter, your mood clearer. You might bend without bracing yourself. You might lift a bag of groceries without hesitation. You might rediscover something you thought was lost momentum. Aging isn't the enemy, inflammation is. And when you take back control of what goes on your plate, you take back control of what happens in your life. Your joints aren't asking you to be perfect. They're asking you to stop feeding the pain. And when you do, they just might start healing in silence, the same way they were destroyed, slowly, quietly, but this time in your favor.